So Marvel Future Fight's 6th anniversary has given us this superior Iron Man uniform, and right off the bat, I'm just gonna show off the build that I have on him, just to kind of give you a glimpse into the build that I have and what I'll be doing for the tests. Now, I will say that I think this uniform is amazing. It's a really big upgrade on Iron Man's kit. As you can see, I'm very overcapped. This isn't a perfect build because his new uniform gives him a bunch of crit rate, crit damage. And so, you know, a lot of these Odin's Blessings that I have are kind of obsolete on him now. I'm gonna have to do quite a bit of tinkering with this build in order to get it more optimal. So this is not an optimal build, not in the slightest. So the big changes to his kit, they don't actually advertise it, but they do change the tier 3 skill a little bit by including an accumulation. And I say a little bit, but that's actually quite big. It really boosts its damage, as you will see in the tests that I do. Now his 3rd, 4th, and 5th skill are basically far more different than they were on his latest endgame uniform. That's not his latest uniform, but you know what I mean. It's his latest, like, best uniform. But yeah, it's a very different playstyle, I would say. I think it's a more cohesive and smooth playstyle. And so you see I have this heroic uniform right now. I'm rocking a stage 12 overdrive set, and I also have this crit rate, crit damage proc obelisk. No CTP, so it's a very affordable build right now. I don't have all of the options right yet. I'm working on getting it mythic. So we're going to be comparing it to the endgame uniform, since I believe that that is his last viable uniform when it comes to, you know, content in the game. And we're going to see just how big of an upgrade he gets from this uniform. And spoiler alert, it's a pretty big upgrade. And I think it really just propels Iron Man right back into the meta. But that's just words. That's just words on my end, and you know, I gotta back it up with some talk. So I'm gonna be showing off some content comparing the endgame Iron Man uniform and the superior Iron Man uniform, and giving my thoughts on the new uniform in general as well. So here we go, we're going against a stage 2 Knull. I have Star-Lord and Mystique as the supports for Iron Man here in both tests. And yeah, you will see here that the endgame uniform really pales in comparison to this superior uniform. You can already see the bars are starting to melt for the superior uniform's run, whereas the endgame uniform is struggling to break past that 58th bar. And I'm really impressed by this, I would say. I think Iron Man could possibly be the best blast male after this update. Now the thing is, he's a villain, so that's something that you'll have to take into consideration, and that some people might not notice. But yeah, he becomes a villain with this new uniform, so that's just something important that you have to note. But when it comes to blast males in general, I feel like Iron Man could possibly be the best. Now, who are his rivals in this case? Possibly Doctor Strange, Professor X, Cable, Star-Lord. I feel like now he can actually compete with him. It might be too early to say, but I'm just saying that he could possibly be the best one after some time has passed and people have, you know, kind of learned how to play him. So, what makes Iron Man strong? Well, he has a lot of buffs on his 3rd, 4th, and 5th skills that's all synergized with each other really well. His 5th skill has a built-in damage proc, which I do struggle to get off several times because, you know, the 5th skill hits immediately and then you lose that proc because you want to cancel it, and it is cancelable. You want to cancel it into the 4th skill, which I think deals the most damage among his skills. It doesn't have any particular buffs on it, though it does have a heal, which is very useful. And compared to the endgame uniform, this heals a lot better because it comes as soon as you press it, in comparison to the endgame uniform where the heal pops at the end of the whole skill. His 3rd skill also has immunity to all damage, paralysis, which is good for ABX, and an increase of all attacks, 30% of increase of all attacks. And yeah, so in combination, these skills all synergize very well, and as you see, the superior Iron Man uniform has already been able to get Knull into the next phase, whereas the endgame uniform is still kind of struggling. So while we wait for the endgame uniform to try and get Knull to the next phase, I wanted to kind of see how Iron Man's run right now with his superior uniform fares against a blast male rival that he can compete against. And so I brought Star-Lord up against Knull in order to kind of compare his run with Iron Man, because my Star-Lord has a rather similar build with my Iron Man, given that they both have normal procs, they both don't really have amazing builds, they both have heroic uniforms, etc. So I felt like it would be a really fair comparison. And as you can see from Star-Lord's run, Iron Man has completely dusted him. Yeah, Star-Lord has already passed the 3-minute mark and still hasn't knocked Knull into his next phase, though he will get there, unlike the Iron Man endgame uniform. So based on this, I think Superior Iron Man might be better than Star-Lord, and it's for sure better than the endgame uniform. I just have to say I'm very impressed by the upgrade they've given Iron Man based on my testing so far. And all the good stuff that's shown in the test doesn't even reflect one of the most impressive and most exciting parts of his uniform, which is the passive that gives him 200% additional damage to enemies that have 30% or less HP. And this would make him an excellent finisher for world bosses and could possibly allow him to have some viability against tanky opponents in PvP. So I tested it, and Iron Man does have a damage increase against Knull when he has below 30% HP. Now it isn't exactly 200% more, but it is pretty significant, I would say. And it just means that all the good stuff that I mentioned earlier only gets better once you get your opponent to 30% or less HP, which is incredibly exciting for Iron Man. Now the uniform isn't perfect. Alright, so the 5th skill, the damage proc on it is a little hard to make work, like I mentioned earlier. And right now, the 5th skill is a little bit bugged, I think, though they might have patched that, I'm not sure. But there has been a bug with the 5th skill. And the cooldowns on his skills are a little long, making it a little difficult to have a consistent tight rotation when playing him. But even with those caveats, I think this uniform is just fantastic. This is the most meta-defining uniform that Iron Man has ever received. If you are an Iron Man fan, no doubt this is an absolute must-buy, regardless of whichever uniform you have right now. This is the best by a long shot. And even if you're not an Iron Man fan, if you're looking for a strong unit, I think this makes Iron Man one of the strongest out there. Again, I don't know just how strong, but definitely pretty strong. I compared him to Star-Lord earlier, and I think that he may be better than Star-Lord. I also did a run with Cable using the team that I had for Knull, and Cable was able to clear it faster by around 30 seconds. But my Cable does have a 180 damage proc compared to a 140 that Iron Man has, so that may be a factor. It's not scientific, but you know, it's just a baseline kind of. But yeah, I cannot recommend this uniform more. I'm very happy with it, and I think most people will be as well when they buy it for themselves and when they use it on their own Iron Man and possibly tier 3 him. So yeah, that's my initial verdict for this Iron Man uniform. I'm very happy with it. Could not recommend it more, but if you have it, let me know what you think as well. I may be completely wrong, as you know, this is just my opinion and it's only really been 1 day since the update landed. But yeah, if there's any other uniform you want me to cover, do let me know in the comments. I will be doing one for Professor X's uniform and for Mr. Fantastic's uniform as well. I promise I won't slack off on this one. So yeah, I hope this video gave you a little bit of insight on the value of Iron Man's uniform right now. And as always, thank you so much for watching.